don't tell people about this. I usually just keep it locked up inside. But something about the whole ordeal is eating at me, and I can't shake it. I think about it every damn day. So here it is. I'm putting it out there. And if you think I'm crazy, well, maybe you're right. But you need to know. It happened in 2005, when I was 16 years old. I was just another kid. Nothing special about me, really. I lived in a small town in southern Indiana, went to high school, played ball, worked part-time at the local diner. Normal teenager stuff, right? One night I went out with some friends. A typical Friday, hanging at the drive-thru, messing around. It was dark, but not too late. I remember exactly where I was when it happened. I was walking across the street, cutting through the alley between the diner and the bar. The last thing I remember was looking down at my phone, texting my mom that I was on my way home. Then I got hit by a damn truck. I never saw it coming. The next thing I knew, I was standing there, looking down at my body. It was like I was floating. I wasn't on the ground. I wasn't anywhere near that alley. I was high above it, like I was drifting up into the sky, but not in a peaceful, I'm going to heaven kind of way. Number. It was wrong. It felt off. The silence in the apartment was suffocating. I tried to distract myself by unpacking more boxes, but every little sound felt amplified in the quiet. Scratches on the wall, creaks in the floorboards, the faint hum of the fridge. But it wasn't until I turned off the light and crawled into bed that the real weirdness started. At first it was subtle, a soft thud, like something had fallen in the apartment above me. I told myself it was just the building settling. But then, there it was again. Footsteps. Slow, deliberate, pacing. I froze, my body stiffening under the covers. The steps were getting closer, each one louder than the last. Heavy boots? I didn't know, but they were unmistakable. Pacing, back and forth, back and forth. I saw them before I heard them. The figures, not people, not ghosts, just shapes, shadows in the dark. At first, there was one, and then more. They didn't have faces or bodies, just shapes, floating like smoke. And they were all staring at me. And I swear to God, I could feel them judging me. Like they were measuring me somehow. Like they were weighing my life, my choices, everything I'd done. And then one of them moved closer. Or at least, it felt like it did. I couldn't see it coming. It just appeared in front of me. It wasn't a thing. It didn't have a shape, but it was there. I could feel it, pressing on me, suffocating me. And it spoke, or rather, it thought at me. And when it spoke, it didn't use words. It was more like a feeling. And the feeling was empty. But this time the footsteps didn't stop. They kept going, echoing through the apartment. I jammed my hands over my ears, but that didn't help. I grabbed a pillow and stuffed it over my head, but it was no use. The sound was deafening. The pacing continued, relentless and unending. I tried turning on music, cranking up the volume, but it couldn't drown out the steps above me. I kept glancing at the clock. 2:45 a.m., 3 a.m. I just wanted to sleep, to escape the nightmare, but it felt impossible. The pacing seemed to go on forever, a constant reminder that I wasn't alone in this building. That's when I realized what I was seeing wasn't a place of peace. It was a place where souls went to be used. There were no angels, no grand halls, no pearly gates. There were no rewards, just endless waiting. And I swear, I couldn't get out. I kept trying to scream, but nothing came out. I felt my soul shudder, almost like it was being dragged across glass. Time passed, or maybe it didn't. I couldn't tell. It felt like a lifetime. I don't know if it was seconds or years. Then someone pushed me back. I woke up in the hospital. My chest hurt. My head ached. The doctors told me I'd been out for almost 5 minutes. I had a heart attack. They said they thought they'd lost me, but I didn't feel like I came back. I didn't feel like me. I still don't. My mom cried. My friends didn't know what to say. They all thought I was lucky. But I knew the truth, and it haunted me. Because whatever I saw on the other side wasn't what they tell you about in church. It wasn't some peaceful afterlife. It was cold. It was wrong. It was a place to trap souls, to break them down, to use them like resources for something bigger. And that's when I realized, we're just fuel for whatever's out there. The doctors put a bunch of wires in my chest, fixed my heart up, and sent me on my way. But my soul was still back there. Every night when I sleep, I feel it pulling on me. It's always just there, lingering like a shadow I can't shake. I know I'm not the same person I was. Every time I close my eyes, I can hear them, those thoughts, those shadows. They're still waiting for me to get old enough, weak enough, ripe enough to be pulled back into their cold, empty world. And I swear to you, if I ever go back there, I won't be the same person who came back this time. I'm just waiting. I haven't told anyone this story, not really. It's been eating at me since it happened. But I felt like I had to share it, because I know deep down, it's not just me. There are more out there who've seen what I've seen. And one day, we're all going to end up in the same place. Maybe not now, but when it's our time, there won't be any grand reunion, no fluffy clouds, no eternal rest. Just cold, empty waiting. And when it's finally our turn, we'll just be fuel. I've been a health and safety inspector for almost 8 years now. It's not glamorous work. Most days I'm checking fire exits, testing smoke alarms, documenting code violations in apartment buildings and small businesses. The job is predictable, methodical, boring even. Which is exactly why what happened last month has left me questioning everything I thought I knew about my routine. Our protocol is simple. Before any site visit, we call ahead exactly 1 hour in advance to confirm the appointment. It's a courtesy thing, but it's also liability protection. If someone isn't home when we arrive, we have documentation that we tried to notify them. I've made thousands of these calls. They all blur together, until the call to the manufacturing company. The work order came through on a Tuesday morning. A small textile factory on the east side of town, one of those places that's been around since the 70s but barely hanging on. They'd requested a routine safety inspection for their insurance renewal. Standard stuff. The appointment was set for 2 p.m. At 1 p.m., I pulled up their file and dialed the main office number listed on the paperwork. 417-555-0392. The line rang 4 times, then someone picked up. "Good afternoon. How may I direct your call?" It was a woman's voice, professional but warm. Older, maybe in her 60s, with that particular cadence of someone who'd answered phones for decades. "Hi, this is Marcus Chen from the County Safety Division," I said. "I'm calling to confirm my 2 p.m. appointment today for the facility inspection." "Oh yes, Mr. Chen," she said. "We've been expecting you. Mr. Hartwell will meet you at the main entrance." "Perfect. I should be there right at 2. "Wonderful. I'll let him know you're on schedule." There was a pause, then she added, "Please use the east entrance. The front doors are being repaired." "Got it. East entrance. Thank you." "You're very welcome. Have a safe drive." The call ended. Clean, professional, exactly what I'd expect. I noted the time in my log. 1:04 p.m. Confirmed with receptionist. Directed to east entrance. I arrived at the facility at 1:55 p.m. The building was exactly what I'd pictured, a squat, industrial brick structure with narrow windows and a parking lot full of potholes. The front entrance had a "closed for renovation" sign taped to the glass doors, so I walked around to the east side like the receptionist had instructed. A middle-aged man in a button-down shirt was waiting by a metal door, checking his watch. He looked up as I approached. "Mr. Chen? That's me. You must be Mr. Hartwell." We shook hands, and he unlocked the door to let me in. The interior was dim and smelled like machine oil and old fabric. He led me through a narrow hallway into the main office area. "Sorry about the mess," he said. "We're short-staffed today. Just me and the floor supervisor." "No problem. I appreciate you making time for this." I pulled out my inspection forms. "I spoke with your receptionist about an hour ago. She mentioned you'd be meeting me here." He stopped walking and turned to look at me. "My receptionist?" "Yeah, I called ahead to confirm. She said to use the east entrance because the front was being repaired." Mr. Hartwell's expression shifted from confusion to something I couldn't quite read. Concern, maybe, or unease. "Mr. Chen, we don't have a receptionist. Haven't had one for almost 3 years. Budget cuts. I answer the phones myself, and I've been on the factory floor all morning. I didn't get any call from you." I felt a cold prickle at the back of my neck. I definitely called. I have it logged." I pulled out my phone and showed him my call history. "See? 1:04 p.m. I called 417-555-0392. He stared at the number, his face going pale. "That's our old main line. We disconnected it 2 years ago when we switched to a new phone system. That number doesn't work anymore. That can't be right." Someone answered, an older woman. She knew my name, knew about the appointment. What did she sound like? I described the voice, professional, warm, that particular phone manner of an experienced receptionist. Mr. Hartwell walked to a filing cabinet and pulled out a framed photograph. It showed the office from maybe 20 years ago. 5 people standing in front of a desk, smiling. He pointed to a woman on the right, gray-haired, wearing a telephone headset. "That's Dorothy Marsh. She was our receptionist for 32 years. She knew this place better than anyone." "Was?" "She died in 2022. Heart attack, right there at her desk." He pointed to an empty desk in the corner, dusty and unused. "That was her station." We couldn't bring ourselves to throw away her things for a long time. The phone was still there until last year. My hands had gone cold. The woman I spoke to, she told me to use the east entrance. How would she know the front was being renovated? We started that work 2 weeks ago. He was staring at the empty desk now, his voice distant. "Dorothy always insisted people use the east entrance. Said the front door stuck and made us look unprofessional. She was particular about things like that." I wanted to argue, to find a rational explanation. Crossed wires, wrong number, coincidence. But I knew what I'd heard. That voice had been real. She'd known my name, known the appointment time. "Can I ask you something?" Mr. Hartwell said quietly. "In your call log, what's the call duration?" I checked. My stomach dropped. 47 seconds. That's exactly how long Dorothy's standard greeting call took. I timed her once as a joke. She had it down to a script. Never longer than 50 seconds, never shorter than 45. We stood there in the empty office, the sound of machinery humming through the walls. Finally, I cleared my throat and tried to sound professional. "I should probably start the inspection." He nodded, but his eyes kept drifting back to that empty desk. The inspection took 2 hours. Everything was in order, mostly. I found a few minor violations, documented them, and prepared to leave. But as I was packing up my equipment, something caught my eye. On Dorothy's old desk, beneath a layer of dust, was a notepad. The top page had handwriting on it, faded but legible. I walked over and read it. It was a note dated 3 years ago. Safety inspection 2 p.m. Mr. Chen, East entrance, front door broken. My name, the exact appointment time, the same instruction. Mr. Hartwell? My voice came out hoarse. When was my appointment originally scheduled? He checked his phone. Your office requested this inspection 3 months ago, but we had to reschedule twice. The original date was... He scrolled through emails. March 14th, 2022. 3 years ago, a month before Dorothy died. She'd written down an appointment that wouldn't happen until 3 years later. Or maybe she'd been planning to tell me something. Maybe she'd been waiting at that desk, in whatever place she'd gone, knowing that one day someone would call the old number, and she'd finally get to do her job one more time. I left the manufacturing facility at 4:15 p.m. I sat in my car for 20 minutes before I could bring myself to drive. That night, I pulled up the old phone records from the county database. The call to 417-555-0392 was there, logged and documented. Duration, 47 seconds. But when I requested the phone company's records, they showed something different. According to them, that number had been disconnected on August 3rd, 2022. No calls in or out since then. The line had been dead for 3 years, but I'd called it. Someone answered. Dorothy Marsh answered. I've continued my work. I still call ahead for appointments. But now, every time I dial a number, I wonder who's really going to pick up on the other end. I wonder how many of those voices are people still doing their jobs, still keeping their posts, even after they've left this world. And sometimes, late at night, I think about calling that number again, just to see if she'd answer, just to ask her what she's still doing there, in that empty office, answering phones that no longer ring. On the drive back to the city, I could not shake the feeling that we were being followed. Every car that stayed behind us for more than a few miles made me nervous. Every headlight made me anxious. We switched highways twice just to make sure that we were not being followed. When I got home, I did some research on that property. I looked up the address online, trying to find information about the land or the area. I was trying to understand what we had experienced. I found something in a local newspaper archive from 1987. A girl had gone missing from that property. She was the daughter of the people who owned the house at that time. She disappeared one Halloween night. She was only 12 years old. Last week, I got a new assignment. Another old facility, another routine inspection. When I pulled up the contact information, my hands went cold. The main office number ended in 0392. I stared at it for almost 10 minutes. Then I closed the file and called my supervisor. I told her I needed to pass this one to someone else. I didn't give her a reason, and she didn't push for one. Some calls, I've decided, aren't meant to be made. And some voices are meant to stay in the past, even if they're still answering. I should have known something was wrong when the job listing specified must own vintage recording equipment from before 1985. I'm a voice actor, mostly audiobook narration and the occasional commercial. When the email from Nocturne Audio Productions landed in my inbox, I was 3 months behind on rent. They wanted someone to record immersive horror experiences for their new YouTube channel. The pay was $500 per recording, and they needed 10 episodes. That was $5 grand, enough to keep me afloat for months. The contract arrived with a cassette tape and a list of rules. 1. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 2. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 3. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 4. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 4. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 4. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 4. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 4. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 4. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 4. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 4. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 4. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 4. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 4. Record only between 2 a.m. and 4 a.m. 4. Record only between 2 2. Use the provided cassette recorder enclosed. 3. Burn exactly 3 white candles during each session. 4. Before starting, say, "I open the frequency." 5. After finishing, say, "I close the frequency." 6. Never rewind the tape while recording. 7. Do not listen to previous recordings until all 10 are complete. 8. If you hear knocking during recording, do not answer. Continue reading. The recorder they sent was ancient, a Panasonic RQ309DS from 1978. All scratched silver metal and sticky buttons. It smelled like dust and something else I couldn't place. Something organic. Then last October rolled around, and everything changed. I am not really into Halloween. I am an adult with no kids, so I do not get trick-or-treaters. I usually just work late, come home, and avoid the whole holiday. But my wife is different. She absolutely loves Halloween. She wanted to decorate the house, throw a party, do the whole thing. "Come on, it will be fun," she kept saying. "We finally own a house. We should celebrate Halloween in it." I eventually relented. I gave in. We bought some decorations, a few inflatable pumpkins, some lights, some fake spider webs. Nothing crazy, just enough to participate. I recorded 3 more episodes over the following nights. Each script was eerily well written, deeply unsettling. A woman who receives phone calls from her future self. A child who befriends his own shadow. A lighthouse keeper who realizes he's been dead for 70 years. On the 5th night, things changed. I was halfway through the script, a story about a sound engineer who discovers hidden messages in white noise, when I heard it. 3 slow, deliberate knocks on my studio door. I froze, remembering Rule 8, do not answer, continue reading. The knocking came again, patient, waiting. My voice shook as I continued reading, but I pushed through. The moment I said, "I close the frequency," the knocking stopped. I didn't sleep that night. The 6th script arrived, and I almost didn't open it. But the money was already deposited for the previous recordings, and I needed to finish the contract. When I finally opened the file, my blood went cold. The story was about a voice actor who accepts a mysterious recording job. The character's name was different, but the details were exact. The late-night sessions, the vintage recorder, the rules. In the story, the voice actor discovers that each recording isn't fiction. They're confessions. Real events narrated by the people who lived them. And in the story, the voice actor realizes too late that by recording these tales, they're binding themselves to the same fate. I looked at the cassette recorder sitting on my desk. In the dim light, I could see something I hadn't noticed before. Names, dozens of them, scratched into the metal casing in tiny letters. I grabbed my phone's flashlight and examined them closer. Michael Torres, 2019. Sarah Chen, 2017. David Okonkwo, 2015. The list went back decades. I counted 37 names. My hands trembling, I broke Rule 7. I took out the first cassette and played it back. My voice filled the room, narrating the story of the man and his dead wife. But underneath my narration, barely audible, were other sounds. Breathing, whispers, and then, clear as day, a woman's voice. He's reading my story. He's taking my place. I ejected the tape and grabbed the second one. Same thing. Beneath my narration, different voices. Crying, screaming. One of them whispered, "I recorded 9 before I understood. You're at 5. Run searched online for Nocturne Audio Productions. Nothing. The email domain was registered to a defunct address in Romania. I tried to find the YouTube channel they mentioned. It didn't exist. But I did find something else. A forum post from 2019. Username MTORRES77. Has anyone else been contacted by Nocturne Audio? I'm up to episode 8, and I'm starting to hear my own voice in the recordings, saying things I never said. Please tell me someone knows what this is. The thread had no replies. I looked up Michael Torres. There was an obituary from 2020. Cause of death, found unresponsive in his home studio. I checked 3 more names from the recorder. All dead, all voice actors, all found alone in their homes, faces frozen in expressions of absolute terror. That's when I noticed the cassette still in the recorder. It had started playing by itself. My voice emerged from the tiny speaker. On the 10th night, the voice actor will sit down at 2 a.m., light 3 candles, and record the final episode, the story of their own disappearance. And when they speak the words, "I close the frequency will close around them instead." I never recorded that. I never even received a 7th script. The recorder clicked off. In the silence, I heard it. A woman's voice, coming from the machine. "You've already recorded 7, Marcus. Check the tapes." I grabbed the cassette case with shaking hands. There were 7 tapes inside. 7. But I'd only recorded 5 nights. I don't remember recording the other 2. I'm writing this from a motel 3 states away. I destroyed the recorder, smashed it with a hammer, burned the pieces, scattered the ashes. I changed my phone number, deleted all my professional profiles, and told everyone I'm quitting voice acting. But every night at 2 a.m., I wake up. My throat is sore, like I've been talking for hours. And on my phone, there's a new audio file I don't remember recording. It's always the same, my voice, narrating my own story. And each night, the narration gets a little bit further. Tonight's recording ended with, "He drove 3 states away, thinking distance would save him." I don't know how tomorrow's recording will end, but I know it's almost finished. If you're reading this and you receive an offer from any company asking you to follow strange rules, to record in the dead of night, to speak phrases that sound like incantations, don't. Some performances demand more than your voice. They demand everything.